With 5 games left until the end of the season, technically, there's still the slimmest of opportunities for us to still secure a European spot. We have like 1-2 games in hand compared to other teams fighting it out for the last remaining European spots, and a win tomorrow night at least takes us above West Ham in the table. And then you think to yourself, if United or Newcastle fall off at any point, anything can happen, right? Naturally, playing against Spurs is making me reminisce about our 4-1 away win against them earlier this season, where I said in my review, it was the most embarrassing win I've seen in my whole life. And I know I might be sounding crazy to you guys right now. Nini, what do you mean we thrashed Spurs 4-1? What are you talking about embarrassing wins? I tried to have some standards, but for me, I couldn't get over the fact that it took us taking 9-man Spurs into extra time before we could finally seal and take control of this game. Within normal time, Spurs had the opportunities, even with the 9 men, to still sneak and get a result in. And I remember that game for Nicholas Jackson's shameless celebrations and his shameless hat-trick that he scored against Spurs. But you know what's funny? Ultimately, Nico is going to be remembered for scoring a hat-trick against Spurs, not for how he scored that hat-trick. And I'm going to sound like I'm full of contradictions right now, because I'd happily take that shameless energy from that performance against them earlier this season into tomorrow's game if it means that we can secure the win against Spurs. Naturally, it won't be easy. Spurs will still try and fight it out to secure a Champions League spot. And yet again, for like the 1000th time this season, we have more new names added to the injury list. Spurs have lost their past 2 games against Newcastle, getting battered 4-0 and then losing 3-2 against Arsenal. Tomorrow, if there was ever a game to spur us on to do the improbable, you'd probably want to be playing against Tottenham right now. So my friends, let's get things straight, irrespective of how strong or weak our team is. Even if we had to field a full 11 of under 18s, it's simply this at this football club: you always have to beat Tottenham. So today, my friends, I'm here to discuss all things match preview for tomorrow's massive game, where I think ultimately we play for pride. That's at least something we can take this season. So I'll be breaking down team news, press conference key points, and my predicted lineup too. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you check out all the rest of the content I've been releasing. Of course, stay tuned for later today for the match review after hopefully we beat them. So hit that like button if you feel like we'll beat Spurs tonight, and without wasting any more time. So let's get team news out the way, and we add new names to the injury list. Welcome Axel Disasi and Thiago Silva. Now in the case of Disasi, he is still being assessed, but with Thiago Silva, we know that he sustained an injury against Aston Villa in that 2-2 draw. When it comes to good news though, Levi Cole, Christo and Nkunku, they are now back in full team training, not partial team training. So it tells us at least that they're not far away now from coming back in contention with the first team. I think we should play things a bit safe for them though. I don't want to rush them back or, get too impatient. But you'd imagine with only a few games left this season, Colwell and Nkunku could be massive boosts for this team. Outside of that, Reece James, Sterling and Gochukwu are still taking part in partial team training, and it's the same old story for everyone else. So that's team news out the way. Moving on to the key talking points from the press conference. Naturally, with Thiago Silva announcing that he is set to leave us at the end of the season, Pochettino will have to have some words. Now, we know this season that there have been some tense moments behind the scenes between Thiago Silva and Pochettino. I think we won't get the full answers and details until the season ends. Who knows what's going to happen? But Pochettino had, of course, lots of encouraging words to say towards Thiago Silva, saying that he's an amazing pro, an amazing professional, and he probably will never see anyone again in his career that can play to the age of 40 years old. So he will most definitely be missed. And I think it's actually a massive loss to be missing out on Thiago Silva for this game, because this guy is so deadly from attacking set pieces, and I really like the balance between him and Trevor Chalobah. I think that when you use Thiago Silva, give this guy a pacey centre-back beside him, and you make the whole defence's lives easier. The big talking point from the press conference, Pochettino spoke out against the injuries. As he says, okay, not good news because we cannot recover any players from the last list and we have to add 2 more players, Thiago and Disasi. They will not be available tomorrow. We have a big challenge against a great team like Tottenham. It's good. It's going to be a great game. It's a good chance for some kids on the bench to have the possibility to maybe play. When this opportunity appears, it is about saying to the kids that this is about being here and playing in the first team for us. He went on to state that, I need to be honest, in regards to the injuries this season, always in a new process and structure, there are always things we can do better. We all feel the responsibility. We can all do better. Some circumstances are different and difficult to explain why, and it is difficult in one sentence. Of course, we are working to try to improve. We have a wonderful medical staff with experience of managing clubs and being in this business. But when too many circumstances arrive, sometimes in some periods, we need to put some formation on the table to be in better communication and strategy to combine all our knowledge and coordinate what we can improve. So I think Pochettino is saying that there has been some, poor communication at times. On one hand, maybe he can admit that maybe he's rushed back certain players. On the other hand, maybe he might feel like he's not getting the best information from the medical team. And I think maybe we have to understand other contexts, like us hiring new medical team staff is going to take you a bit of time to get used to working with your clients, working with the players, understanding the injury history, the best programs for them, the best decisions. I think, a lot of this takes time, and a lot of this relies upon strong relationships that you have with the players, right? So I can understand the difficulties, but at the same time, with the injuries we've had, it's been absolutely crazy. But honestly, I think Pochettino is right. I think that this situation is down on everyone. You can blame the club too for, signing players who already came in already injured. Of course, we've had the misfortune of players picking up contact injuries like knee injuries to Chukwuemeka and Nkunku. New medical staff coming in. Pochettino's mistakes. Maybe certain mistakes when it comes to telling players the best course of action for their injuries, like, Reece James. Imagine he got the surgery at the start of the season. I think he'd be playing now already. So I do think these things all add up. And I think what Pochettino is saying is correct. And I can only hope that next season, things dramatically improve for the medical side. Because if we have another season where we're constantly seeing our players dropping like flies, then we got no chance for next season. Let's keep things brutally real. And before I end things with the press conference key points, when Pochettino mentioned his quotes about young players maybe getting a chance tomorrow, I think if there is any time this season that some academy players may come on, it will be tomorrow. I think that's why Pochettino has constantly made the points about young players getting an opportunity in games, but then we never see that. And I think ultimately it's Pochettino wanting to just make sure that these guys are mentally alert and prepared for the off chance that they may be called upon. So let's see what happens. And I guess this is the perfect time now to discuss the predicted lineup for our game against Spurs. Now tomorrow, Pochettino is set to play his 400th game as a manager, which is absolutely crazy. And I guess it's fitting that he is about to achieve this record against his former club in Spurs. So today, my friends, this is the predicted lineup I'm going with. Up front, Nico. Obviously in behind, Mudryk, Cole Palmer, Noni Madueke. Midfield of Gallagher, Caicedo. And defence, Cucurella. You're looking at Badiashile. You're looking at Trevor Chalobah. And I'm probably saying Alfie Gilchrist with Petrovic in goal. Now, listen, I'm going to start with defence first, going up front. Now, ideally, I was hoping to maybe include Achimpong, 17-year-olds, right back / right wing back. Tall, good aerially, strong, very technical, very good. At this football club, we don't play around when it comes to producing top-class fullback talent, and Achimpong is definitely the next one that's set to blow. But I just can't imagine Pochettino deciding to play him, even though I think his pace on the right-hand side would really benefit us. I think if he was to come on, most likely he comes on as a substitute. But then even then, I'd be surprised if Poch was to turn towards something like that, unless it's making us players like a back five, with maybe Gilchrist moving into defence, and us adding on a wing back to replace one of the tired wingers ahead. That's how I see things playing out. Defense speaks for itself, but I hope we continue to see Cucurella playing this inverted role. I think he was way better in the second half against Aston Villa, and I think it was beneficial for our midfield. Because realistically, if we have any hopes of winning the game tomorrow, I think it falls down on our two generals in midfield in Caicedo and Gallagher. When Cucurella inverted, it allowed both Gallagher and Caicedo to affect things in the opponent's half a lot more. And by doing that, we had a lot more quality. We had a lot more intensity. We had a lot more opportunities. We had a lot more balance. We were a much stronger team. So I really think our best bets fall upon these two. I know that there's some controversy surrounding Conor Gallagher. I think, in my opinion, I think it's absolute nonsense. I've been seeing some of the weakest arguments on social media. Oh, why, Kante never got a banner. Why did he not get one, but Gallagher is? I think the context is simply this, right? Gallagher is being linked with Tottenham for next season. They're the favourites, as we've known, for 18 months to be signing him. Because as we've known even longer than that, the club have been looking to release Gallagher every single window. So I think it's fitting that I think contextually it's pretty fitting that there is going to be a banner out for Gallagher to support him and also to put pressure on the board. Because honestly, and I've said this throughout the season, I think it's kind of crazy that we could consider selling our own Cobham version of Valverde. And I know some people just hear comparisons like that and it makes their minds just like blow up. They just can't understand it. But if you know ball, you know exactly why I'm making that comparison and why I'm saying what I'm saying. And ironically, I seem to remember most fans being pretty content towards selling and releasing N'Golo Kante, thinking that Caicedo was the saviour. So listen, that's my stance in this situation. But outside of that, moving on to the attack, I think Mudryk, very fortunately, will be in this lineup because everyone else is injured. I need to see something more from him. I have to see something more. And hopefully an inverted Cucurella can offer him the overlaps down his left-hand side that he needs to maybe have that license to roam in and feel a bit more confident. Of course, Cole Palmer is our talisman as well too. A little bit rusty against Aston Villa. Natural, he just came back from illness, and you know what, if there's any player that's allowed to maybe have like a bit of an off day, even though Cole Palmer's off days aren't the same as other players' off days, I think Cole Palmer's allowed to have that. But I think a player that I'm going to be paying a lot of attention towards is Noni Madueke. Pochettino challenged Madueke to engage better defensively. Now, I don't think he's being too harsh. Even though Noni had like, I think 10 ground duels out of like 13 or 14 won, it was crazy. Obviously, the details Pochettino's thinking about is that communication between Noni and his fullback. Sometimes the distances are too big because Noni is caught too high up or he's ball watching. And obviously they're the type of details that opposition teams will look to take advantage of. That's a critique, but I think Noni's that type of guy that takes it up on the chin and will look to improve on those metrics because we know what this guy can offer us in the final third. His dribbling has really been a great thing to see, and he played a super game against Villa, so I hope he continues that tomorrow. And obviously, naturally, Nico Jackson, he's been missing a few too many chances recently. If there's any team that can help him regain his scoring form, it is going to be Tottenham tomorrow. So let's hope that Nico can find that confidence in front of goal, because we're going to need that. Because if Nico can score, we got a good chance of winning. And I'm hoping this attack has enough in them to cause some damage, especially in the counter-attack. I do think that we have the skill and the pace. Tomorrow, it's fully going to come down to communication. And I think if there's one worry I have, we're essentially using a defense that has never really played together. And normally when a defense has not played together, it means that the communication isn't as good as it can be. And when the communication isn't as good, it means the positioning and organization can be a little bit iffy at times. So let's pray and hope, fingers crossed, that those types of mistakes kind of get minimized. So my friends, that is the preview out the way. Share your thoughts and opinions. Hit that like button if you only feel like we can beat Spurs today. And on that note, I'm the FC. This is BlueLionsTV. See you guys later. Cool.